Forwarding traffic through a load balancer based on URLs. Let's go. Hey there, this is Tom with Tom's Tech Show. Wow, that has a lot of sugar in it. Holy cow, I don't know what I was doing. You know, sometimes you go to very sweet. You go to restaurants and you ask for unsweet tea. We're from the West Coast, usually where they don't have this whole sweet unsweet thing. So we came to the East Coast and they asked you, what you want tea? You want sweet tea? You want unsweet tea? I'm like, no, I like controlling my own sugar level myself. So I'll take unsweet tea. And then they bring you one and then you drink that down and then stuff. And then they bring you another one and they forget and they bring you a sweet tea the second time. And then you go ahead and add your own sugar on top of that. So you've got sweet tea with a bunch of sugar, extra sugar in it. And wow, that's what this is. I'm going to be all hopped up on sweet tea. Oh my word. Okay, anyway. So here we are. We are creating load balancer and we're creating that we're going to be doing some URL forwarding. And since this is my channel, I do a lot of stuff in PowerShell. That's what we're going to be doing it with today. So what this allows us to do, right, is to have a single entry point into multiple servers, so that, you know, or multiple groups of servers, and, you know, allows you to like reuse that. Sometimes you might be, maybe you're dealing with a customer that has to whitelist URLs or IP addresses. Well, this allows you to minimize the amount of information that you have to give them and have your whole environment be behind like a single point load balancer. So that makes that kind of handy to do. So we're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing it with PowerShell. So to start with, of course, at this point where you are, there's other videos about, you know, connecting to AWS, getting all that done using your, you know, IDs and passcodes and everything. Get yourself scriptmatically connected to AWS, which we've already gotten at this point. So first thing we want to do is, of course, create our load balancer. So pretty quick and easy thing. So we want to create a new ELB2 load balancer. The new types, application type, scheme is internet facing. We're only going to use IPv4. We got to give it a name, and then we'll have a security group and a set of subnets to send to that load balancer. So this is actually the subnets is actually an array of subnets. So I'll probably do a video on how to grab all your subnets at some point. So then once we get that loaded, then we just run through this loop here. It takes a little bit of time to know when the load balancer is ready. It's not an instant thing. Sometimes these commands that go to AWS is like boom, posted, and the change is made and done. The load balancer takes a little while to get all the different pieces set up. Okay, then the first kind of thing that we want to do with this load balancer, the first thing we need to do is create a listener behind that. And this first listener is going to basically just forward all of our standard HTTP traffic to HTTPS. We don't want anybody hitting our load balancer and having it be, you know, unencrypted internet traffic. We want it always to move to HTTPS. So we need to create an Amazon Elastic Load Balancing version 2 model redirect action config. So that's where create the listener, but you got to have some pieces before that. You have to build a couple of building blocks before that. And the first one is this redirect action config. What do? We got traffic that's coming here. What are we going to do with it? We're going to say our host, take our host, our path, and we're going to redirect that to 443 and protocol HTTPS, and HTTP 301 is permanently moved. So, and if there's any information behind that, so we have all these different things: the host, the path, the port, protocol, and whether there's any query or data behind that, that we redirect that permanently to 301. Okay. So that's the configuration part. That's what we're doing. Now we have to take those pieces and create an action. We have the what we're doing, but we have to create the action part, and that's this right here, this object right here, which is just simply redirect. So this is the configuration of what we're doing, and this is actually telling it what to do. So then we create a new listener, and we get our load balancer that we just created up here. We have this load balancer that we set up and put it to the variable LB, and down here we've got load balancer, and we need the ARN, the Amazon, their resource identifier here. We're going to be listening on port 80, protocol HTTP, and our action is going to be this here redirect action, which includes this RC right here, which is our redirect action configuration. So all those pieces come together, and we get, all we've done now is just move traffic from port 80 to 443. Isn't code fun? You would think that this would be just like, yeah, just click that button. No. Okay. The next thing that I want to do with this is, what if somebody puts in something that doesn't match anything? So this is going to, so we're going to have, my test server 1 go to this load balancer. And we're going to have test server 2 go to the load balancer. Then test server 3 go to load balancer. Well, what if somebody, puts test server 5 and somehow that's configured, or they put in the IP address of the load balancer, which would IP address would inevitably fail the SSL check. But if they did that and there's nothing there for it to redirect, we need to send a response. So I typically send a 503. So we can do that. So fixed response here is we're doing a new object, Amazon Elastic Load Balancing version 2 model, fixed response action config. So up here we had a redirect action config, so that we're doing the redirect to 443. Here we're doing a fixed response. We're just going, boom, here's what your data is. So this fixed response is plain text, status code is 503, and then our action model, we got to do another, so we have our config, and then we have to do the same thing. We have to create an action, and that action is our fixed response. We're going to give it an order of 99. So all these rules that you put into the load balancer, they're numbered, and they're executed and compared in order that you put them in there. So this one, which is the last one, which would be if no other conditions work. You've got to the load balancer, no other conditions work. Boom, what's the last thing you do? Boom, you do this 503. Okay, so fixed response, then we need to just add the listener, just like we did before up here at the listen 80. This listen 1 is new listener, load balancer. We got our load balancer ARN. We're going to be on port 443 because we already have the previous redirect that pulls people from 80 to 443. So we can do listen on 443, and we can say our default action, because that's what we need on this load balancer. When you create it, it needs to do something, and that's a default action. So we're going to set this as this default action, and we have a certificate and an SSL policy. So those are, the certificate is the ARN of the SSL certificate from AWS, and the SSL policy is the TLS version that you're going to be using, TLS like 1.2 policy for that. Since we're on HTTPS, we're listening on HTTPS, so that means we need to have that policy and certificate in there and available. Okay, now that we have the basic framework of our load balancer set, now we need to start actually building the rules and targets and things like that of our load balancer, where we're going to actually end up sending the traffic. And like many of these things, like back up here where we had the redirect config, and then that gets posted to an action, and this fixed response action config, and that gets posted to an action. Target groups are kind of the same way. We want to send all of our data to a certain instance. Well, that instance needs to be part of a target group. So we need to create the target group first. So new ELB target group. We're going to have the health check enabled, and it's going to be kind of checking traffic on port 80 to whether it gets a good 200 or not. Then this is going to be HTTP. Target type is going to be instances. We're going to send data to traffic to instances. Then we need our VPC ID. We need to know what VPC to post this target group in. The cat down there has a Velcro tie, and it's being very humorous, but anyway. So now, and we're going to name it. We're going to name it test server 1 is our target group. Okay, now we need to register an instance with that. So we do register ELB target, the target group, and we need our target group ARN, the ID of our target group. And then we're going to actually put a target on it. Put what's this traffic going to? We're going to be at port 80 and the ID of our instance. And then once we do that, these are instant things. These don't really take any time to generate or create. Once you post them, you don't, like here, when we created the load balancer, I had to create a wait state for the load balancer to be created and become ready. Well, in this case, active is the value that you're looking for. Most of the other, all the other stuff that's in here, we don't have to wait. As soon as we post it, it's pretty much good to go. Okay, now we need to create a rule for moving the traffic to that target group. Okay, so we need to create a rule condition similar to we did before up here with fixed response config and redirect action config. We need to create a rule condition here, and that is host header. It has a field and value, which is kind of odd. I can see value, but field kind of throws me off. It's like on the page for the rule condition object, there's all kinds of other different fields, and all of them are very descriptive, but this one is just field, and the ones you're using most are field and value, which, okay, is fine, but our field is host header, and the value is the URL that's going to be hitting the load balancer. So in the end, so if I create 5 of these rules to redirect to 5 different servers, in DNS, all of these URLs, all of these values will go to the same load balancer. So then once they hit the load balancer, then they're compared in the rules, and if it matches one of the rules, then it sends it to the appropriate target group. Okay, so now then we need to create an action. Once we create a rule, we have to create the action, and the action is our target group sending data to our target group, and then the action is forward. So if we match, this rule matches, then we are going to forward data to this target group. So, and the odd thing is here is that up here on the top, where we had the fixed response action config and the model action, and then our model action was being part of the fixed response. Here, we're down here, this is part of the rule. We have the condition and the separate action and the separate listener. So we have all those pieces are separate and combined into the rule. So it's a little bit different flow. Trying to figure some of these things out with the limited documentation in AWS gets a little bit crazy. And then I give this a priority 1. So now when you do the second server that's in here, then you can do that like 2. It has to be a unique number. And then 3, then 4, then 5. So as you do more and more URLs. So yeah, so if I had test server 2 here, then I would need to do a priority 2 for as I go down the list. Okay. So that's kind of how you do it. That's kind of the flow. That creates one rule that gets you there, and then you just need to loop this code here down at the bottom for all the different URLs that you're going to be using, and those will then redirect traffic into the servers or server sets that you want behind the load balancer. Okay, well, that was kind of crazy and long, but I think if you look over, I mean, I'll have this code posted in my Bitbucket so that you can use it and look over it and see, you know, if this is something that will help you. It took a while for me to get all the different pieces set up and figured out, but it's working and it's running, so that's good. It's actually using it to deploy stuff in the internet. All right, well, there we go. That's forwarding data using URLs. So I guess we can just do one quick review of it. You have multiple URLs that have the same DNS entry. So server 1, server 2, server 3, all URLs all point to the load balancer entry point. Then the load balancer entry point has rules in it that has listeners that have rules that then determine what URL you're using, and that forwards traffic to a specific server that you want it to use. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's good. If this helps you, let me know. If you have any questions about this, just let me know in the comments down below. And thank you, everybody. I'm over 2,000 subscribers now. It's been great. Thank everybody for commenting and watching, subscribing, and all that stuff. All the commenting and subscribing helps the channel grow and everything, and I appreciate all that. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care.